All right, and piggybacking what we talked about yesterday, we talked about perhaps a driver behind emotional, self-medicated eating and how it's not your fault. I always love that line from Good Will Hunting. Actually made me cry a little bit. I'll go ahead and put it out there. When Robin Williams says to Matt Damon, it's not your fault. It's not your fault, and he breaks him down. To a certain extent, a lot of these things aren't our fault due to our, not in an insulting way, our own ignorance about our own physiology and how things work. We can fall victim to certain traps of our own physiology if there's deficits in other areas. Mainly what we're talking about again now is deficits in serotonin due to other reasons, which we've gone in on before and will continue to go in on. Deficits in serotonin, all of a sudden, our bodies try to find different ways to compensate for this. One of them being, as we articulated yesterday, through more glucose, more sugar, more carbs coming in, which raises the glucose, which eliminates those other amino acids that compete with tryptophan to get across the blood-brain barrier. With those other guys out of the picture, tryptophan can storm through in disproportionate amounts, unmitigated, and all of a sudden we can get a boost in serotonin. Great, we feel good, we want to get more serotonin, but at the same time, it's coming with a consequence on this one. However, we do want to be wary of that. We do want to know what we can do to mitigate that, and that's what we talked about yesterday. But we can also use this similar concept to our advantage. We can do this by going back to one of the old pillars. Advantages, benefits to be had for days and days and days on this one. Exercise, movement, just get after it. Another reason why right here. So if we get after it and we increase our activity level and we get after it with some kind of steady exercise routine, like we said, benefits across the board, that's undeniable. But if we do that, we increase the energy demand in the body. I'm burning more energy, I need more energy. My muscles are more metabolically active. I have some muscles and they need more fuel, more fuel, more fuel. More glucose, energy uptake to the tissues in the body. Remember how we talked about yesterday, when that glucose is transported into the cells, it doesn't go solo. It takes amino acids with it. Remember, and these amino acids have to be free amino acids, free to hop on a ride and take a ride with glucose. We talked about phenylalanine, leucine, methionine, those same ones that compete with tryptophan to get across the blood-brain barrier and into the brain. Tryptophan is a bound amino acid. It doesn't fall victim to this glucose transport into the other cells in the body, meaning these other ones, these competitors to tryptophan, are transported out of the blood and into the cells. Hello, tryptophan's just hanging out by itself, higher relative concentrations, and now can hitch that ride, that active transport across the blood-brain barrier into the brain. Exercise, my energy demand is up. Glucose uptake into the cells, bringing those amino acids out of the blood and into the cells. More tryptophan can get into the brain right there. Now that's using that physiology that we talked about yesterday that could potentially fuel carb overfeeding, emotional eating. But that's using that physiology to our advantage. Get up, move, create more of an energy demand, and perhaps that's one of the reasons behind the mood boosting benefits, specifically when it comes to serotonin, of exercise. Remember, serotonin, also the precursor to melatonin. So perhaps just another reason why exercise and being more active can actually lead to better sleep in many cases, because we're getting more serotonin, which can then form melatonin. So more benefits for exercise, using that physiology to our advantage, understanding it, and living to the best, independently, naturally, on our own. Get after it. Optimize that serotonin.